Hey, this is Jeff. Welcome to our class or lesson on proper PPE and safety. PPE stands for personal protective equipment. So these reading glasses that I wear are not personal protective equipment. They're not what's called ANSI rated, ANSI. Well, first let's talk about the purpose of doing this. We're talking about safety and lessons and protective equipment to protect ourselves, protect the company, and protect our customers, and to protect to some degree, to protect the equipment and the assets of the company. You got to protect yourselves. We're not interested in you getting injured at work from not wearing proper safety equipment, and it's certainly no good to you or your family, your friends, certainly your welfare, if you become temporarily or worse, permanently injured, or worse than that, death, okay? PPE is about preventing not just injuries like sore hands or more severe injuries like a broken bone. It's really also about preventing you from dying. You certainly don't come to work to do that. That's no good for you, certainly no good for the company either, and it's not good for our clients. They don't want to be exposed to injuries, serious injuries, or certainly not death at their homes on the job site. So talk about different types of PPE. We'll talk about what's required at the company for PPE, what's required based on what you're doing. That would be a task-based PPE requirement. And then there's some optional stuff. We'll talk about things you can do and provide. Basically, for the company, one of the essential requirements from the start of your shift, or I'm sorry, not the start of your shift, but the start of working at a shift at a job site, is to wear latex gloves. And for those who are allergic, these are latex. For those who are allergic to latex, we provide nitrile gloves as well. They are not as robust. They don't last as long. They're cheaper. But we don't generally provide them unless you are allergic to latex, because they're just not going to hold up very well. Okay, so one of the recommendations for us, this is what we provide. They're in the warehouse. You stock your truck with them. When you start your shift, let's say as a recommendation, put them on your passenger's front seat and opened. And when you go to put on a pair, grab an extra pair, put them in your pocket, and then put a pair on. And that way, when you walk away and you're working, if you were to tear a glove, you have one that you can take off, that you can immediately put another one on. So that's what we recommend, how you do that. So these are put on all the way down to the fingers, okay, and up over the wrist. That's the right way to wear a protective glove. You don't cut the fingers out, and you don't put them up short of covering, trying to take this off, covering your wrist. Like I've seen people try to do this, like put the glove on like that. That's not acceptable. You've got to wear the glove entirely over your hand and wrist. The other thing that is required is when you start your shift is to have your rubber boots. Now these are the type without laces, water resistant, basically waterproof, over the ankle. These are, I guess, calf high, you'd call them. They are rubber soled boots, non-marking, not hard soled boots. You cannot wear those. And basically they're really they're waterproof. With a good pair of socks, we recommend poly socks, not cotton socks. You want to wear something like a 50-50 blend so that they'll absorb some of the moisture off your skin, but also they call that wicking, and also they'll evaporate out the moisture out of your socks. That's what the poly blend is for, the polyester part of that. But good boots like this will keep your feet dry or drier, and won't give you swamp foot. You get trench foot or swamp foot, you're gonna be really sorry. It's very sore. It's where the skin wears off your feet from being wet and rubbing against your shoes, and you'll be out for a couple of days healing. We've had people do that. Those boots, those types of boots that lead to that, like tennis shoes, not permitted. You can have lace-up boots, but again, they cannot be hard, vibrant type soles, like hard black marking soles, and they can be made rubbery and like water resistant, but basically boots without laces are going to do a better job of keeping your feet dry. We talk about task-based PPE, things you have to wear based on what you're doing. So if you're mixing chemicals, if you're loading the chemicals from the large bulk tanks in the warehouse and restocking your truck, you're going to be required two things. One is what's called ANSI, A-N-S-I, ANSI rated splash or eye protection against splashing, okay? So you've got an adjustment on here. I've already adjusted this to fit my head. Okay, a little sliding thing there. Solid connection there. You put this up over your face and over your eyes, and it should fit snug against your face so that there's not a big gap here, okay? This is going to prevent, like if you were opening a ball valve and refilling bleach or soaps or something into your truck, and for that matter, paint supplies or whatever division you're in, you don't want that to splash. If something were to break, a hose fail, whatever, a container lid come off and it splash in your eye, it could be an injury, a serious injury. I guess you're probably not going to die from splashing something in your eye, but it can cause serious injury, and it can cause you to lose sight in your eye permanently and cause your eye permanent damage. So we don't want to do that. The other thing that is required for loading chemicals is heavy-duty rubber gloves, not the latex gloves. When you're working in the bulk chemicals in the warehouse, you're required to wear these gloves. This is a pair from our branch here in Linthicum. Put them on all the way up to your hands and again over your sleeves, and that's what you handle the chemicals with. These are chemical resistant gloves, heavy duty. I think they're called neoprene gloves. This pair, I don't know if that's neoprene or not. But that is I don't think it's called neoprene. That is a rubber type glove, completely sealed and water and chemical resistant, okay? Think of them as chemical proof, but I'm not sure they'd be rated and called that. I'll go back to that principle we were talking about, ANSI. People say stuff about OSHA and you go, oh, they need to be OSHA approved gloves or glasses or something. There's no such thing. To have something that is rated that OSHA approves of is to have an ANSI, A-N-S-I, an ANSI rating, and these gloves for the chemicals, these goggles, it says ANSI Z87, and if you were to look that up, you'd see that these are approved for the types of chemicals that we handle. If you handle other types of chemicals, you would probably be required to have a different type of splash guard on your face. The other thing that you can use in lieu of the glasses, not in the warehouse, but on a job site, is a face shield. Now this is a really cheap version of one, perfectly suitable. This thing would be useful for like a couple of jobs, or a couple of days of use at a particular job. This is not the heavy duty type that are about 40 or 50 bucks. These things are literally, they're pretty cheap. They're a couple bucks. But I'll show you how they come. So it looks like it's opaque, like you're not gonna be able to see through it. That's because the way these things are packaged, they actually have a little film on them to protect them in shipping so they don't rub against each other and scratch the plastic. And so you just would peel that off, and you can't see through that, but you can now see through this, okay? It's got a little static in it. And so then when you take this thing, and there's no real adjustment to this, you just put this over your head. It's pretty fragile. You put that foam up on your forehead, and now you've got some splash guard. Whether you were mixing chemicals, if you were working as a spray technician or a painter in a confined area like a breezeway or a 3-sided room or something where it caused the mist and the overspray really got some fumes and sort of smell and chemicals in the air, besides a mask, putting this on would protect your eyes so that if you were working in an area where you might get splashback, you won't get the chemicals in your eyes. Speaking of that area, you've got two different types of masks that you can wear. This is a N95 mask. Better be labeled right, it is. An N95 mask. There's also a mask that's similar to this that you've seen, is a P95 mask. That's the one with the little square thing. It's basically has charcoal in it. Little filter there for you to breathe in. That's for chemicals. Now get this. ANSI rating N95 mask stands for a particulate mask to save you from like dust and airborne particles, right? N for particles. A P95 mask is a gas mask with that little charcoal filter on it. P standing for nuisance gas. Go figure. An N95 mask is for particles and a P95 mask is for nuisance gases. I don't know. Guess they couldn't get that one coordinated there. But this is really simple. You take this thing, you got the two little straps. You're going to want to put the bottom strap over your head first. Okay? You put the second one up over your head. Keep it above, if you can hear me, keep it above your ears, that second strap. And then when you have this on here, you're going to pinch this down to your nose so that it fits snug against your face and it creates a good seal around your face and chin, so you can imagine like if you were sanding and all this dust is in the air from sanding a board on a deck, that you would have protection against those particles being breathed in down your throat and up your nose. And again, we'd use the version with the little charcoal filter on it, a P95 mask for nuisance gas, useful in small confined areas if you're working as a SoftWash tech with chemicals or any other chemicals. Another type of mask you can use is a respirator. Okay, we're not talking respirator like the full type with like a gas oxygen tank and all that stuff. These things come in different types. We have a few different ones, and basically they have adjustable straps. You can see here the way they're rigged up. This piece is going to go up over your head, okay? Really simple. And then this piece, I'm going to go ahead and fasten it shut, okay? Like this, okay? When you go to put this on, the same thing, this thing would go over your head first, so I guess I'll do that around my neck. And then when this thing goes up over your face like this, put that on your head. Okay. I'm not going to get this thing. I'm not going to get this thing totally adjusted to my face, but you want to get it so that this makes a good seal pressed up against your face. And when you breathe in, the idea is that when you're breathing in, okay, when you breathe out, this is a one-way valve and the air will go out, it'll expel. When you breathe in, it won't come in this way, it'll be forced to come in through here, and these are charcoal filters, okay, to get mounted on here. You can see that they come off and they can be replaced, okay. So that is a respirator, charcoal filtered respirator. And then they would come with different types of, I don't have a package of them. I thought that was a package of them. They come with the replacement cartridges, okay? This is actually gloves. We're going back to the gloves. Here's a pair of nitro gloves. I don't want to take them out of the container because they're like in here, but that's just a different material. You could feel it's different than the latex. A nitrile, N-I-T-R-I-L-E, nitrile glove is for those who are allergic to latex, okay? So those are the different types of task-specific PPE. So you would use a respirator or a mask in dealing in a confined area, whether it be against dust or chemicals, so you can breathe clean air while you're working. When you're spraying or rinsing in an area where there's going to be mist and you're having difficulty breathing, say, or you anticipate that, you would wear that, okay? Incidentally, if you have the need for a mask or a respirator, you're probably in the same situation where you're going to also want to wear these. If you need help breathing, you certainly want to keep the stuff out of your eyes as well. So you would don the mask and the respirator if you were in a confined area dealing with chemicals. And of course, you'd have gloves on at all times. That is not task specific or task dependent. We require wearing of gloves during the cleaning process if you're a spray tech, and if you're a paint tech or you're doing other types of work, as long as you're handling our equipment, handling our client's property, you're wearing gloves of some type. And obviously, same thing, like we said, these are required at all times. So if you're working in that confined area, you're going to want to keep the chemicals off of you, and you've got to keep those boots on as well. Something we haven't addressed is that we require wearing of a company uniform. I thought I had him in view here. Give me a second. I'm going to move him. This is our mannequin that we keep in the lobby. Okay, we don't have a name for him, but the company uniform is required to be worn at all times when you're on your shift. And this guy has his gloves on. You may or may not be able to see in the video, he has his long pants on, and he has boots. This mannequin's wearing a set of rubber, water-resistant boots, waterproof boots, so that that's a proper uniform, long pants and the company uniform. Talk specifically when you're working from a ladder, that's another advantage of wearing these types of boots. You're going to want a firm boot that's solid on the bottom. You wear tennis shoes on a regular basis and you climb ladders all day long, your feet are going to hurt after a couple of days, and if you're new at it, might hurt after just one day from your foot being on that rung, okay? If this were the ladder rung and your foot's like this, right? Your arches on your feet are going to hurt. So these boots being reinforced and having a solid sole won't flex like a tennis or sports shoe will. And certainly you're not allowed to wear Crocs or flip-flops or open-toe shoes anyways. You got to have closed-toe shoes. Those things will definitely hurt your feet after a day or maybe a few days, and your feet are going to be sore. Specifically, if we're doing any kind of pressure washing, obviously you're working with chemicals or water, even just water only, but you're spraying. Pressure washing more so than our other types of things like pump sprayers and the SoftWash setup has a much more likelihood, possibility of having splashback, things coming back at you, whether you're spraying into a corner or spraying something just straight in front of you. It doesn't have to be down flat on the ground. You have a good possibility of having spray back. So you got to have the goggles on, you got to have gloves, and that's where the face shield can come into play as well. Couple of rules around PPE, really simple and enforceable. PPE must be worn correctly, whether it's on your face, over your eyes, your gloves, your boots. They're not to be modified and half worn. You don't, like I mentioned earlier, you don't cut holes in your gloves. You don't wear one glove and not the other because you're only handling the wand or something or the tool with just the one hand. We always wear a set of gloves. They must be in good condition, no cracks or holes in them. When your gloves are compromised and broken, you got to put another one on. When your boots have holes in them, you can no longer wear them. You've got to replace them. They will last you months. A good pair of boots can last you a year or more, depending on your job. What else? No broken or tattered straps, no tattered clothing. We don't allow you to wear jeans that have holes in them and stuff like that, because then you just end up getting chemicals on you, besides it looking unprofessional. Pre-job PPE check. Before you leave for the day, I guess I could have covered this earlier. Before you leave for the day, one of the things you want to ensure is that your truck is stocked with the necessary PPE you're going to need for that day. So these cheap face shields we started buying because we buy the $40, $50 type and you get abused and scratched up and then you can't see out of them anyways. These aren't going to last very long. They don't cost a lot of money. You're welcome to keep one of these in your truck, or one per person. You keep plenty of gloves in your truck. You're required to have an unopened box as well as an open box of gloves. As soon as you open your second set of gloves, you should be restocking them with an unopened box so that you always have plenty of gloves and you'll never run out. If you anticipate the need for a respirator, we can go over that, how you do that. We can issue a respirator for somebody to use. We don't keep them in the trucks, but we can issue them for a particular job because these can't be left out in the open. If this is left out in the open, this thing is working, and so it's filtering the air, and by the time you go to use this, the charcoal is going to be, think of it as being consumed and worthless. It's full of fumes from whatever it's filtered out of the air, and it's not going to do a very good job of filtering out the air that you're trying to breathe that has chemicals in the air. And obviously things like your glasses, you want to make sure they're in good repair, good working order, and not totally scratched up. Same thing with the face shield so that you can't see through it. I showed you how to put on the PPE, but I'm going to go over a couple of rules or principles of when you're going to don your PPE, okay? You want to inspect it for damage and inspect it for the fit. When you put on a pair of gloves, they should fit. If you have medium-sized hands, you want medium gloves. You don't want to wear large or extra large gloves. If they're extra baggy, they're going to tear on your hands. They're not going to work well. They're not going to give you a firm fit. Really, what's most likely is they're going to wear out or tear. You're going to catch them on something. But that goes for everything. Your glasses need to fit properly, your goggles, your respirator, everything needs to be checked. The straps have to be in good working order. Don't put PPE on and wear it if it's loosely fitting, ill-fitting. It's not going to do the job. It's not how the equipment's designed to be used. What else? Oh, taking them off. You should be rinsing. Notice this. Somebody did not rinse these gloves. They're not being well taken care of, okay? They can get dirty like that from the chemicals and stuff on them, but they haven't been rinsed. So you want to rinse your PPE, rinse your goggles, rinse your own boots at the end of every day. Latex gloves, we're not going to rinse them. We're going to throw them out. But they should, again, with PPE, when you're done with them, they should be disposed of properly. That's part of the trash that comes off your truck every day, not to be left on the truck. And as a guideline, you should wash your hands at least once a day, or at the end of a shift or at a meal break. You should be washing your hands to make sure that anything from the PPE or chemicals that we work in have been rinsed off your hands so that you can eat safely, healthy, and when you go home, you're not taking stuff home with you. When it comes to storing your PPE, you keep your gloves in a proper place on your truck, whether it's on a seat, under the seat, on the floorboards. Your goggles, your face shields and all that should be stored in a safe, proper manner in your truck so that they're not getting scratched up and just tossed about and abused. They should be dry. Your gloves at the first sign of, more like heavy-duty gloves like this, if you have them, at the first signs of cracking or peeling, they should be replaced. You don't keep using them, okay? Taking care of them and rinsing them and keeping the chemicals off of them will help them last longer too. Respirators, we didn't mention how to store these, but these need to be rinsed off daily and dried off. And then when not in use, obviously like these are going to be no good for the next use, left out in the air. But like the cartridges, we don't open them until we're ready to use them. So they get stored in a clean, dry place, and respirators are only opened up when they're needed. So even literally for the day, if you get issued a respirator, don't crack open the cartridge thing in the warehouse. You take it with you and open it when you're ready to use it. It's probably going to last just over a day of use, but you want to get the maximum effective use out of it, so you want to open it up right when you're ready to use it. Any type of contamination or things that get on your own clothing or the equipment or the PPE, you want to rinse that off, and especially your own clothes. Don't leave that stuff on there. Bag it. Sometimes you might have to take a shirt off if something gets on it. We don't really want you to keep spare personal clothing in a truck, but it's okay to have a spare uniform. Sometimes you got to take clothing off and all that. When it comes to exposure, if you are feel that you have been exposed to something splashed in your eye, something got on your hand, something got up the glove, on your sleeve, soaked through your clothes, whatever it is, if you've been exposed through inhalation or splashing in a mucous membrane like your ear, your nose, or your eye, under your fingernails, or something in a cut, you need to report that to your supervisor, to your department manager immediately. Like not eventually, immediately. This is not going to be a total health and safety lesson, but anything like that should be flood and rinsed generously with low pressure water. Not with a pressure washer, not even really with the booster pump. If you use a water source like to rinse, you should be rinsing at garden hose pressure, but flush generously the iWash kit on your truck, and etc. Flush with water for a minimum of 15 minutes. Notify somebody. Refer to the SDS that you keep in your book and see what the hazards are with exposure. And if it says that you should seek medical help, medical care, then we need to take care of that immediately and get you over to like a patient first or something like that, so you can be evaluated and make sure that you're okay. If inhalation exposure occurs, that's when you move immediately out of the area. You're wearing a mask, you're wearing a respirator, and you're coughing a little bit, you're feeling it. You back out of the area, you stop working, you go get in some fresh air, make sure that you're okay, probably check over your PPE, look at your respirator, look at your mask. It may need to be adjusted, it wasn't on correctly, and it may have been consumed, might not be useful anymore. You're gonna have to adjust and either be able to complete that work without inhaling those gases and things in the air, or we may have to reschedule the work or get you a piece of a functioning PPE so that the work can continue. But that needs to be reported, okay? When it comes to training and accountability, we're teaching you this lesson, but as you learn how to routinely use this stuff in the company, you need to also take responsibility for teaching the next person. If you're watching this, you're probably an associate or an apprentice at this point, and as you become a lead, you can't depend on just the videos to teach your understudy. And as an understudy, as an associate or apprentice, you don't want to rely on just this video and learning this stuff. Ask the questions, be sure to be trained properly, and to seek guidance. And you can certainly seek out OSHA training and that kind of stuff online. You gotta be careful what you watch online. We can't say everybody you watch online or YouTube is going to read you the right information and teach you the right stuff. But there's certainly good resources available online to learn this stuff, and things even on the OSHA and MOSH in Maryland, MOSH websites. The lead technician or trainer or team leader, whoever is in charge and senior on a job site or at any level of leadership in the company, is responsible and accountable for the enforcement of these policies and safe use and appropriate use of the appropriate PPE at that time. Simple example is we do not allow you to work without a latex or nitrile glove on, or the heavy duty rubber gloves, but you got to have something on. Enforcement. First violation may require a stoppage of work, correction, little coaching. Okay, we take this very seriously. You think this isn't a big deal, but if you get caught repeatedly not using your gloves, you will be terminated. Okay, we take safety seriously here. You cannot put the company at harm, at risk from your negligence. A workers' comp claim costs our company money. A few years back, we had negligence in enforcing this stuff from the filming of this video. This is our last year, should be our last year of paying inflated workers' comp rates. Right now, we're paying a 45% price increase over what we could be paying because of our rating with the workers' comp. There's this whole thing, you don't even know about it, but it's a rating thing that we get from a national organization to say what it, based on our number of claims and payouts, expenses for workers' comp claims, and based on that, we're paying a 45% surcharge for our workers' comp insurance right now from people doing dumb stuff like getting simple injuries from not wearing gloves. So it's serious, it affects the company's welfare. That costs us money. That's prosperity money that we use to do great fun things in the company and also to continue to expand the company. So we can't allow you to do that. Your lost time at work also costs us money because you're not available as a trained asset, a trained resource in the company that provides our outstanding superior service experience to our clients. You're not available to do that. You're not available to train somebody. You're not available to be trained to continue your development in your role in the company because you're out injured, because you neglected to use the appropriate PPE. So we take it very serious, hold yourself accountable, and hold those who depend on you accountable for their own welfare and the welfare of the company. Second violation gets documented. You get caught on a second violation of PPE and safety violations. It's documented, it's in writing, you sign for that. There is no fourth, fifth strike, like when we talk about I can't even think of what it's called, 4 steps of improvement. When it comes to safety, 3 strikes and you're out. Third violation of safety requirements in the company are documented and it results in your immediate termination. So do not violate these policies or you'll end your opportunity of prosperity here with the company. And that's regardless of which business division you're in. Okay? So take it very seriously. We've provided you great resources of safety equipment, how to use them, training on how to wear them and so forth, and when to wear them, which when in doubt, wear them if you're not sure, and you'll be looking after yourself, your company, and certainly your family.